The illusion of a single mind. You've been told that your brain is the control center, that the wrinkled gray mass inside your skull is where every decision, every emotion, every instinct is born. Science books pointed to it. Neuroscientists mapped it. And you believed it. But what if the truth is far more complicated? What if the you making choices isn't locked inside your skull, but scattered throughout your body? What if your gut, your heart, and even your energy field are doing the thinking before your brain even catches up? This is not a metaphor. It's not poetic language or mysticism. It's a scientific revolution hiding in plain sight. And it changes everything about who you are. You feel a shiver before danger appears. Your stomach twists when someone lies. Your chest tightens in the presence of heartbreak. None of those sensations came from your brain, and yet they shaped your choices more than any rational thought ever could. This video is a journey into the hidden dimensions of human intelligence, a place where neurons exist outside your brain, where your mind might stretch beyond your body, and where ancient wisdom meets cutting-edge science. We'll explore 10 powerful truths that will challenge what you thought you knew. That the gut may think independently. That the heart isn't just a pump, but a second command center. That your biofield, the invisible energy around your body, may hold more memory than your cortex. That instincts and intuition aren't mysteries. They're signals from systems we've barely begun to study. So if you've ever had a feeling you couldn't explain, if you've ever trusted your gut more than your logic, if you've ever wondered where you end and something greater begins, then keep watching, because what you're about to discover will turn the idea of mind inside out. This is not just about the brain. This is about the hidden network behind human consciousness. This is the mind outside your brain. Part 1. The gut brain. How your stomach thinks before you do. Close your eyes for a moment and remember the last time you felt nervous. Maybe it was before a big meeting, a breakup, or walking into a room where you didn't feel safe. You might have said, "I had a bad feeling." But what does that actually mean? Now open your eyes. That feeling wasn't just in your head. It was in your gut, literally. The science of the second brain. Hidden inside your abdomen, woven through 30 feet of intestines, is a vast and mysterious network of neurons, over 100 million nerve cells to be exact. This is called the enteric nervous system, ENS, and it's so complex that scientists now refer to it as the second brain. Yes, your stomach has a brain of its own. It can function independently of the brain in your head. It produces neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, the same chemicals that shape mood, focus, and calmness. In fact, around 90% of serotonin, your feel-good chemical, is made in the gut, not the brain. But this is where things get strange. Gut feelings are not just metaphors. Have you ever had a sudden instinct to say yes or no without knowing why? Have you ever trusted your gut feeling more than someone's words? That's not emotion. That's data. Your gut is scanning your environment, monitoring internal shifts, and sending signals to your brain via the vagus nerve, a superhighway of communication. And often, your gut sends the signal before the brain forms a conscious thought. This explains why you can feel off even when everything looks fine, why your body reacts before your mind knows what's happening. Because your gut is not waiting for instructions. It's thinking, it's sensing, it's warning, and in many cases, it's more accurate than logic. The gut's role in memory and decision-making. Recent research from neurogastroenterology labs shows something even shocking. The gut may not just sense, but remember. In lab animals, scientists have observed learned behaviors and emotional reactions tied to gut activity. In humans, patients with gut disorders often report changes in mood, cognition, and even personality, not as a side effect, but as a direct consequence. Your gut doesn't just respond to stress, it records it. Chronic anxiety, trauma, grief, they all leave traces in the gut microbiome, altering your gut-brain axis permanently. This may be why emotional healing often requires dietary changes, probiotics, or gut-focused therapies. When you make a decision, especially under pressure, it's not just your prefrontal cortex doing the math. Your gut is whispering its own conclusions, drawn from a lifetime of emotional and sensory experiences stored below your awareness. You are, in a very real sense, thinking with your stomach. Eastern wisdom meets Western science. For thousands of years, ancient traditions like Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine have believed that the belly is a center of intelligence. The Japanese call it the hara. The Chinese call it the dantian. Martial artists focus energy here. Monks breathe from here. Healers believe trauma lives here. Now science is finally catching up. The gut is not just a place for digestion, it's a center for intuition, emotion, and wisdom. So what does this mean for you? It means you're not imagining that gut feeling. It means those butterflies before a date, that twist when someone lies, that nausea during grief aren't psychological quirks. They are the voice of a hidden intelligence, an ancient mind inside your body, trying to protect you. The next time you face a tough decision, ask yourself not just, what do I think, but also, what does my gut know? Because sometimes the best part of your mind isn't in your head at all. Part 2. The heart-brain. Why your emotions don't come from where you think. Place your hand over your chest. Feel the steady rhythm, the thump, the pulse. We've been told that the heart is a muscle, a mechanical pump, a tireless machine pushing blood through your veins. But what if it's more than that? What if the heart isn't just keeping you alive, but also shaping who you are? The surprising science of heart intelligence. In the last 2 decades, scientists have uncovered a stunning fact. Your heart has its own neural network, over 40,000 neurons that can sense, feel, learn, and remember. This discovery gave rise to a new field called neurocardiology. In other words, your heart has a brain. It doesn't just receive instructions from the head, it sends messages back to the brain, influencing your thoughts, your perceptions, your emotions without you realizing it. In fact, according to the HeartMath Institute, the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. And those signals shape your ability to focus, your sense of safety, even your moral judgment. This isn't metaphor. This is measurable. This is physiological. When the heart speaks, the brain listens. Let's imagine 2 people. Both experience a stressful moment, like getting bad news. One person's heart rhythm becomes erratic, sharp, jagged. The other person, trained in heart coherence, a meditative state of rhythmic heartbeat, maintains a smooth, harmonious pattern. Which one do you think reacts better, more calmly, more rationally? It's not about the brain, it's about the signal the brain receives from the heart. Heart coherence enhances brain function. Erratic heart rhythms flood the brain with fear signals. This is why in emotional situations, you sometimes can't think straight. It's not a weakness, It's your heart-brain connection breaking down. The heart has memory. In one of the most mysterious medical phenomena ever recorded, organ transplant recipients have reported changes in personality, tastes, dreams, and emotional patterns after receiving a donor heart. Some began craving foods they never liked. Others had memories they couldn't explain. A few even described emotional reactions that mirrored the donor's history. Of course, skeptics call it coincidence. But if the heart has neurons, and those neurons store signals, then memory, perhaps, isn't confined to the skull. It raises a haunting question. Could the heart remember even after the mind forgets? The emotional brain beneath the ribs. We often say things like, "My heart is broken. I knew it in my heart. I have a heavy heart." These aren't just poetic phrases. They're intuitive recognitions of something we've always felt, that the heart is more than anatomy. Your emotions don't just rise in your brain's limbic system. They radiate from your chest. You don't mourn with your thoughts. You mourn with your whole being. You don't love with logic. You love with rhythm, warmth, and something deeper. That something is centered in your heart. Ancient traditions, modern proof. For thousands of years, cultures across the globe believed the heart was the seat of the soul. The Egyptians weighed the heart in the afterlife to judge purity. The Chinese linked the heart to the spirit, or Shen, and consciousness. Christian mystics spoke of the Sacred Heart as the doorway to divine wisdom. Sufi poets described love as a fire born in the heart. And now, science is catching up with what spiritual traditions have always whispered. The heart doesn't just feel. It thinks, it remembers, it leads. What does this mean for you? When you suppress heartbreak, you're not just moving on. You're storing trauma in a nervous system that can't be reasoned with. When you trust someone with your whole heart, it's not a metaphor. It's a physiological leap of vulnerability, your heart signaling safety to your brain and body. And when your heart races before a decision, don't dismiss it as anxiety. Ask what it's trying to say, because maybe, just maybe, the most important messages aren't in your thoughts. They're in your chest, in the rhythm between your ribs, in the silent intelligence that pulses, not speaks. The next time you wonder what to do, try this. Don't just think it through, feel it through, because your heart might know the truth before your mind is ready to hear it. Part 3. The body's biofield, how your energy field thinks ahead of you. Walk into a room and feel off. Stand beside someone and feel inexplicably drained. Get close to a stranger and suddenly feel anxious or safe. There's no sound, no words, no touch, but something changes. Something invisible happens. And science is beginning to catch up with what mystics, healers, and empaths have whispered for centuries. You are not just a body. You are an energy field, and it thinks, it feels, and sometimes it knows before you do. What is the biofield? The term biofield was coined by a panel of scientists at the National Institutes of Health to describe the complex field of energy that surrounds and penetrates the human body. It includes electromagnetic fields, subtle energy currents, and vibrations that may not yet be fully measurable by mainstream instruments. Every organ, every cell, even every neuron in your body emits electrical signals. The heart produces the strongest one, so strong, in fact, that it can be measured several feet outside your body. But your entire system is radiating. You are a walking field of frequency, constantly interacting with the space and people around you. So when you sense something before it happens, when you feel like someone's watching you, or when someone walks into the room and your energy shifts, that's not imagination. That's your biofield in action. The heart's electromagnetic brain. Let's revisit the heart for a moment. The HeartMath Institute found that the heart's electromagnetic field is about 5,000 times stronger than the brain's. It expands outward in a torus-shaped field that changes depending on your emotional state. When you feel love or gratitude, your field becomes smooth, coherent, harmonious. When you feel fear, anger, or anxiety, it becomes chaotic, jagged, unpredictable. And here's the twist. Your field doesn't just reflect your state, it also affects others. Meaning, when you're calm, you calm the room. When you're anxious, you transmit tension. When you're joyful, you change the air itself. This is not mysticism. This is physics. This is biomagnetism. Intuition is not magic. It's energy perception. Ever met someone and immediately disliked them without any logical reason? Ever felt like something bad was about to happen before it did? That's not sixth sense in a paranormal sense. It's energetic intelligence. Your biofield picking up subtle data before your conscious mind can process it. Your skin has sensory neurons. Your gut has neurotransmitters. Your heart has emotional rhythm. And surrounding all of that is a sensitive web of frequencies constantly reacting to people, places, and signals. Animals do it all the time. Birds migrate using magnetic fields. Dogs bark before an earthquake. Cats stare at things we can't see. Humans have this too. We've just been trained to ignore it. Measuring the invisible. While traditional medicine still dismisses energy as vague or unscientific, researchers in bioelectromagnetics and biophotonics are exploring ways to measure the unseeable. Kirlian photography has captured what looks like energy auras around living things. Gas discharge visualization, or GDV, measures fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, often changing based on stress, illness, or intention. Electrodermal screening can pick up subtle shifts in the skin's conductivity related to internal emotional states. Some believe this field holds the key to pre-disease detection, that illnesses manifest in the energy field before the body shows symptoms. Your body whispers long before it screams, and your field may be where it whispers first. Ancient knowledge, modern clarity. Long before the term biofield existed, ancient traditions knew. In India, it's called prana, the life force. In China, it's ki, the vital energy. In Japan, ki flows through meridians in the body. In Christian mysticism, the aura is the soul's radiance. Reiki, acupuncture, qigong, and countless other practices have long worked with this energy field, not as metaphor, but as real, interactive substance. Now, as science evolves, we may finally be able to prove what these systems have practiced for centuries. What does this mean for you? It means you're not only a thinker, you're a resonator. It means that being near certain people drains you for a reason. That being in nature restores you for a reason. That trusting your vibe isn't superstition. It's biology in action. So when your energy shifts without warning, when you feel off but can't explain it, when a place or person feels wrong, stop ignoring it. Start listening. Because your brain might ask questions, but your biofield already knows the answer. Part 4. Intuition is not an illusion. It's a survival mechanism you inherited. You felt it. A sudden urge to pause before stepping into the street. A strange resistance before signing a contract. an invisible pull away from someone who smiled just a little too wide. You couldn't explain it, you couldn't prove it, but something in you knew. This isn't magic, this isn't nonsense, this is intuition, and it's older than logic, older than language, older than thought itself. The evolution of gut instinct. Long before humans had speech or rational analysis, we had instinct. It's what kept our ancestors alive in a world full of predators, poisons, and lies. They didn't survive because they thought faster. They survived because they sensed faster. The snap of a twig, the way someone's eyes shifted, the slight drop in temperature before a storm. These weren't analyzed, they were felt, instantly, viscerally, without needing words. What we now call intuition is just the refined survival software coded into our nervous systems over millennia. It's not a flaw in reasoning, it's the foundation of reasoning. The neuroscience of intuition. Contrary to popular belief, intuition is not anti-science. In fact, researchers have studied it extensively, especially in high-stakes professions like medicine, the military, and aviation. Brain scans show that intuitive decisions light up the anterior cingulate cortex and insular cortex, areas responsible for emotional processing, body awareness, and prediction. These areas react before the logical brain even gets involved. This is why people say things like, "I just had a feeling. It didn't feel right. Something inside me told me not to do it." Because those feelings are embodied signals, your body recognizing patterns before your mind can explain them. Your body as an antenna. Your skin, your breath, your heartbeat, all fluctuate in response to external cues long before you consciously notice anything. Studies show that the body can exhibit measurable changes like pupil dilation, heart rate shifts, galvanic skin response, seconds before a randomly chosen disturbing image appears, even when the subject has no idea it's coming. This phenomenon, known as presentiment, challenges our understanding of linear time and perception. But one thing is clear: your body is listening to the future before your brain knows it. The trauma filter. But intuition isn't always pure. Sometimes it's been shaped, distorted by trauma. If you were raised around chaos, betrayal, or fear, your body may become hypersensitive to threat. You might confuse anxiety for warning. You might feel unsafe in safe places, or miss real danger because your radar is jammed. This is why developing true intuition requires more than listening to fear. It requires clarity, healing, discernment. Because real intuition doesn't scream, it whispers, softly, gently, consistently. And when your nervous system is calm enough to hear it, it becomes your greatest compass. When logic fails, intuition leads. Some of the most powerful decisions in history weren't made by intellect, but by instinct. Steve Jobs chose to drop out and follow design because it felt right. Maya Angelou once said, "The ache for home lives in all of us." She trusted that ache to guide her writing. Soldiers in battle zones often report sensing ambushes before they occur, with no visible signs. Logic gives us answers. Intuition gives us direction. One is data, the other is meaning, and we need both. How to reclaim your inner compass. In a world obsessed with information, we've become strangers to our own knowing. We outsource our truth to algorithms. We silence our hunches in favor of Google results. We label instinct as unprofessional or unreliable. But here's the truth. The deepest wisdom you'll ever have will not come from your mind. It will come from a part of you that remembers a world before words. So how do you reconnect? Slow down. Intuition needs space. Listen to your body. If it contracts, pay attention. If it expands, move forward. Practice presence. The more mindful you are, the louder your signals get. Heal trauma. A regulated nervous system is a clear receiver. Test it. Trust your instincts in small ways, then observe what happens. Intuition isn't a gift for the chosen few. It's your birthright. It's the ancient whisper of survival in a modern world of noise. And it's still speaking. Are you listening? Part 5. Split consciousness. Why the left brain lies and the right brain knows. You've heard the phrase, left brain versus right brain. Some call it myth, others oversimplify it into logic versus creativity. But behind the cliches lies a deeper truth, one that shatters everything you think you know about how you think. Because your brain is not one voice, it's two, and they often disagree. The two minds in one skull. Your brain is divided into two hemispheres, connected by a thick bundle of nerves called the corpus callosum. Each side processes the world differently. Left brain. Language, logic, sequence, structure. Focuses on detail, categorizes, analyzes. Obsessed with past and future. Loves certainty, definition, and control. Right brain. Emotion, intuition, imagination, empathy. Sees the whole, the context, the patterns. Lives in the present. Feels truth rather than proves it. Think of it like this. The left brain names the tree. The right brain feels the forest. They are both essential, but not equal in power, because one of them has a tendency to lie. The interpreter, your inner spin doctor. In the 1960s, neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga conducted split-brain experiments on patients whose corpus callosum had been severed to treat epilepsy. What he discovered was shocking. When each hemisphere received different information, the left brain would make up a story to explain behavior it didn't understand. Example. A patient's right hemisphere was shown a picture of a snowy scene. The left hemisphere was shown a picture of a chicken claw. The patient pointed to a snow shovel, right brain, and a chicken, left brain. When asked why, the left brain made up a false story. You use a shovel to clean up after chickens. It had no access to the snowy image, but instead of admitting confusion, it confabulated. It lied, smoothly, confidently, persuasively. This phenomenon is now known as the interpreter theory. Your left brain constantly creates narratives to explain the world, even when those narratives are wrong. Sound familiar? The danger of a dominant left brain. Modern society rewards left brain thinking. Logic over emotion, analysis over intuition, proof over perception, control over flow. We praise rationality and distrust gut feelings. We write off spiritual experience as fantasy. We mock imagination as childish. But when the left brain dominates, something dangerous happens. You become trapped in the story and blind to the truth. You believe your worth is tied to productivity. You see time as linear and running out. You ignore your body's signals in favor of the calendar. You trust your thoughts even when they're cruel. Meanwhile, the right brain, the side that feels connected, alive, creative, is silenced. And the result? Burnout, disconnection,
emptiness, because the part of you that knows what matters isn't being heard. The wisdom of the right hemisphere. The right brain doesn't argue, it doesn't explain, it shows, it feels, it experiences. Jill Bolte Taylor, a neuroscientist who had a left brain stroke, described it like this: "Without my left brain, I lost language and logic, but I also entered a state of deep peace, timelessness, and unity with everything around me. I felt only love, only presence, no fear, no boundaries, no identity." What she touched wasn't madness. It was pure right hemisphere consciousness, the part of the brain that mystics and meditators have accessed for centuries. It's not analytical, it's awakened. Which side are you listening to? Every day, both hemispheres offer input. The left says, stay safe, do what you know, measure everything, be efficient. The right whispers, there's more, look deeper, feel this moment, trust the unknown. The left wants control, the right wants connection. And here's the twist. The right brain knows before the left brain understands. It's faster, deeper, and more emotionally accurate. But it doesn't speak in words. It speaks in images, sensations, energy. If you're always listening to thought, you might miss truth. How to rebalance the brain. If your left brain is running the show, try this. Practice silence. The right brain emerges in stillness. Create something. Paint, write, dance. This rewires access to the right side. Engage nature. Forests, oceans, animals all speak the language of right brain perception. Question your story. Just because your thoughts are loud doesn't mean they're true. Breathe. Deep, slow breathing activates right brain emotional balance. You don't need to silence the left brain. You just need to let the right one speak again. Because when both sides are in harmony, you don't just think better, you live better.
Part 6. You're not just one self. How your identity shifts between minds, moods, and memories. You wake up confident. By noon, you're uncertain. That night, you cry without knowing why. Same body, same name, same life, but it feels like you're a different person. And maybe you are. Because the idea that you are one solid, consistent self is one of the greatest illusions of the modern mind. In truth, you are a fluid system of roles, memories, moods, and signals, switching constantly between states of consciousness. You are not one mind. You are many minds, taking turns steering the ship. The myth of a single identity. Western culture teaches us to define ourselves with words. I am ambitious. I am introverted. I am strong. But identity isn't static. It's a process, not a possession. A dance, not a destination. You are a child to your parents, a leader to your team, a lover in private, a warrior in crisis, a dreamer when you're alone, a ghost when you grieve. And none of these are false. They're all true, for a moment. What changes is which version of you is active, which self is in control, and the switch often happens beneath your awareness. State-dependent memory. Your past is not fixed. Ever tried to recall something and failed until you went back to the place it happened? That's state-dependent memory. Your brain stores experiences with context, including your physical posture, mood, breathing, and even hormonal levels. When your state changes,
access to those memories can vanish. This is why you feel brave at night and terrified in the morning. You forgive someone in peace, but rage when triggered again. You forget your purpose in a crowd, but remember it in solitude. Your mind isn't a library. It's a network of mood-based gates, and each emotional you has its own key. The multiplicity of mind. Psychology now recognizes that the human psyche isn't a monolith, it's modular. You are made of sub-personalities, sometimes called ego states, internal family systems, or IFS, parts work, selves. There's a part of you that protects, one that sabotages, one that pleases, one that hides, one that dreams. And they each developed in response to life's pain, joy, trauma, and love. They're not problems, they're survival strategies. And when your system feels safe, they work together. But under stress, one part may take over, shifting how you think, feel, and act. Ever said, "I don't know why I said that"? That wasn't the same you speaking. Mood as a lens, not a truth. Moods aren't just feelings. They are filters, alters of perception. When you're anxious, the future looks dangerous. People feel threatening. Your dreams seem unrealistic. When you're in awe, time slows down. Problems feel solvable. The world becomes alive. But here's the catch. The world doesn't change. You do. So when you believe this is just how life is, pause. Ask, which version of me is speaking right now? Because you might be viewing reality through a temporary self, one born from fear, grief, hunger, or exhaustion. And that self is not the whole story. Memory is rewritten by who you are today. Your memories are not files. They are reconstructions, influenced by your current state. This is why a heartbreak feels worse when you're lonely. Childhood feels warmer when you're loved. Regret sharpens when you fail again. Memory bends to emotion, not fact. And your identity is woven from memories that shift every time you remember them. This means who you think you are is based on a story that rewrites itself constantly. So who are you, really? You are not your thoughts. You are not your moods. You are not your memories. You are the awareness behind them. The observer who watches all the roles shift. The consciousness that survives every version of you. When you're angry, scared, or hopeless, don't say, "I am this." Say, "A part of me feels this, but I am more than that." Because your mind is not a single voice, it's a symphony. And learning to hear each instrument without mistaking it for the whole song, that's the beginning of true self-understanding. Part 7. Memory in the muscles. How your body remembers what your mind forgot. You walk past a certain smell and your stomach tightens. You hear a song and your chest aches. Someone touches your shoulder and your whole body recoils. But you don't remember why. No memory, no story, no explanation. Only a response. Instant, physical, undeniable. That's because some memories don't live in your mind. They live in your muscles, your fascia, your breath, your posture. They're not cognitive. They're somatic, meaning stored in the body, not the brain. The body keeps the score. That phrase isn't just poetic. It's the title of one of the most important books in trauma science, written by psychiatrist Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. His research confirmed what survivors, dancers, martial artists, and healers have long known. The body remembers what the mind can't handle. When trauma is too overwhelming, too fast, too much, too soon, your brain may block the memory to protect you, but the body absorbs it. Tight shoulders equals years of unexpressed anger. Shallow breathing equals decades of suppressed fear. Collapsed posture equals hidden grief you never got to cry. Clenched jaw equals all the things you never said. And unless you release it, it stays. Not as conscious thought, but as tension, pain, numbness, disconnection. Muscle memory is real, but not just for skills. We often use the term muscle memory when learning an instrument or sport, but your muscles also remember emotions. Think of what happens when you flinch before a punch, even when it's not coming, or how you brace your shoulders before being criticized, even if no one says a word, or how you can't breathe deeply in certain places without knowing why. Your body doesn't just store what happened, it recreates the conditions to protect you. That means every reaction is a survival attempt, even if it no longer serves you. This is why healing can feel so uncomfortable, because your body is not just letting go of tension, it's letting go of a whole identity it once used to survive. Fascia, the living web of emotional storage. Beneath your skin lies a vast fibrous network called fascia, a thin connective tissue that wraps every muscle, organ, and nerve like a 3D spider web. It's not just structural, it's sensory, it's emotional. Researchers now believe fascia plays a role in how trauma is stored and expressed. It contracts, thickens, and loses elasticity when under chronic stress, especially unreleased stress. Massage therapists, somatic therapists, and trauma healers often report moments where gentle touch or movement causes people to suddenly cry, laugh, or relive forgotten experiences. Not because of suggestion, but because the body finally feels safe enough to remember. The breath as access point to the body's memory. When you're scared, your breath shortens. When you're ashamed, your breath disappears. When you're at peace, your breath flows. Your breath is the bridge between your conscious and unconscious selves. It's the one function you can both control and be controlled by. Breathwork, used in many ancient traditions and now in modern therapy, is a direct way to unlock stuck emotional memory. People who engage in deep somatic breathwork often experience spontaneous emotional release, flashbacks to early childhood, a sense of remembering something their brain never consciously knew, because your breath carries more than oxygen. It carries truth. The wisdom of movement. Sometimes what therapy can't reach, movement can. That's why yoga helps people cry without knowing why. Dance reconnects people with joy after depression. Martial arts restore boundaries after trauma. Tai Chi rebuilds energetic balance. You can't always think your way out of pain, but you can move your way through it, because every muscle has a memory, and every gesture can become a conversation with your past. So what does this mean for you? It means your healing doesn't have to begin in your mind. It can begin in your body. In a stretch you didn't know you needed. In a breath you've avoided for years. In a shake, a scream, a posture, a sigh. In stillness, when your body finally says, "You're safe now." Stop asking yourself, "Why do I feel this way if I don't remember anything?" And start asking, "What is my body trying to tell me without words?" Because the truth is, you don't always need to understand what happened. You just need to let it move. And when you do, the self you buried under fear and tension, the parts of you trapped in forgotten memories begin to return, alive, whole, free.
Part 8. When your mind goes silent. The intelligence of stillness and emptiness. You're lying in bed, eyes open, and for a brief moment, your thoughts stop. No past, no future, no identity to defend. Just silence, just stillness, just being. And then it hits you. That quiet wasn't empty. It was full of something deeper than words, louder than thought. Because contrary to everything you've been taught, silence isn't the absence of intelligence. It's the presence of a deeper one. The addiction to noise. In the modern world, silence is rare and often feared. We fill every gap with sound. Podcasts in the car, music at the gym, TV while eating, notifications while walking, inner monologues that never shut up. Why? Because silence exposes us. It strips away the masks. It confronts us with the parts of ourselves we've numbed with distraction. And yet, it's in those moments of nothingness that we find the purest intelligence of all. The brain at rest is not resting. Neuroscientists once assumed that when the brain isn't focused on a task, it powers down. They were wrong. What they discovered instead was the default mode network, or DMN, a powerful network that becomes active when we're not doing anything. The DMN is responsible for self-reflection, long-term planning, creative insight, moral reasoning, emotional integration, meaning-making. In other words, when you're staring out the window, lying in the dark, sitting in silence, your brain is doing some of its most important work. It's synthesizing, reorganizing, recalibrating. And in those quiet moments, truth slips through, like sunlight through a cracked door. Stillness as a gateway to higher knowing. Across every spiritual tradition, stillness is the path to revelation. Buddha sat in stillness under a tree. Jesus retreated to the desert in silence. Muhammad received revelation in a cave. Mystics fasted, withdrew, and listened to the still, small voice within. Because in silence, there is no mask to maintain, no ego to defend, only awareness, raw, unfiltered, unafraid. Stillness doesn't erase the mind. It reveals the mind beneath the mind, the observer, the witness, the part of you that watches without judging. This is not emptiness, it is presence. The intelligence of emptiness in nature. Look at a tree, it grows in stillness. Look at the moon, it moves without noise. Look at a lion, it waits in silence before it strikes. Nature is not hurried, it's not loud, and yet it thrives with a knowing far beyond thought. Stillness is not stagnation, it's integration. It's how life rebalances itself. And your body knows this. When you're overwhelmed, you instinctively want to be still, to pause, to breathe, to stop trying. That's not weakness. That's your ancient intelligence calling you home. The power of doing nothing. In a productivity-obsessed culture, doing nothing is rebellion.
But neuroscience shows that intentional rest boosts creative problem solving, memory retention, emotional regulation, and insight generation. This is why shower thoughts feel like downloads from another dimension, why the best ideas come during walks, not at desks, why you suddenly understand something when you stop trying to figure it out. Because wisdom isn't found in force, it's found in surrender. You are not your thoughts. Most people believe they are their thoughts, but in moments of stillness, that illusion dissolves. You begin to notice thoughts come and go, yet you remain. Emotions rise and fall, yet you observe. Stories spin and unravel, yet you witness. So if you are not your thoughts, who are you? You are the space between the thoughts, the silence underneath the noise, the presence that never leaves. And in that presence, there is a knowing that no book, teacher, or belief system can replace. A knowing that says, you already are everything you've been searching for. So what does this mean for you? It means that in a world addicted to stimulation, your greatest power may be your ability to become still, to sit with yourself without running, to breathe without distraction, to rest without guilt. Because in that sacred pause, your nervous system heals, your intuition awakens, your true self emerges, and you remember, silence isn't empty. It's full of truth you forgot how to hear.
Part 9. The mind beyond the body. Consciousness that reaches past skin, time, and space. Where does your mind end? At your skull? Your skin? Your heartbeat? What if the answer is none of the above? What if the real boundary of your consciousness doesn't exist in the way you think? Because mounting evidence, scientific, experiential, and spiritual, suggests that your mind may extend beyond your body, beyond linear time, and beyond the physical world altogether. Not metaphorically, literally. Remote viewing and the non-local mind. In the 1970s, the CIA and US military invested millions into a classified program called Stargate, researching something called remote viewing, the ability to perceive objects, people, or places at a distance using only the mind. And it worked, consistently enough to be used in real operations. Participants could see inside enemy buildings, describe foreign facilities, and even locate missing persons without ever being there physically. How is this possible? If the mind is locked inside the brain, it shouldn't be. Unless consciousness isn't local. The mind is not a machine, it's a field, capable of reaching anywhere. The quantum question: is consciousness fundamental? Modern physics is beginning to ask uncomfortable questions. Does consciousness arise from the brain? Or is the brain like a radio, tuning into consciousness the way it picks up a signal? Many leading-edge physicists, including Max Planck, Roger Penrose, and David Bohm, have proposed that consciousness might not be a byproduct of biology, but a fundamental fabric of reality itself. In quantum mechanics, particles change behavior when observed. Entangled particles communicate faster than light, suggesting non-local connection. Time and space are not fixed. They bend, ripple, and collapse at the smallest scales. What does this mean for the mind? It may mean that thought, awareness, and experience are not contained in matter, but matter is shaped by consciousness. In other words, your mind may not be in your body. Your body may be in your mind. Near-death experiences and the conscious self outside the brain. Thousands of people around the world have reported near-death experiences, NDEs, moments where their brain had flatlined, but their awareness remained. They floated above their bodies, saw doctors working on them, entered realms of light, encountered beings, returned with details they could possibly have known. Skeptics say it's brain chemistry, but these experiences often occur when brain activity is completely gone, which raises a question science still can't answer. How can you be aware when your brain is offline? Unless awareness is not produced by the brain, but channeled through it. The collective mind, synchronicity, shared thought, and the web of knowing. Have you ever thought of someone only to receive their message seconds later? Felt an emotion you couldn't explain only to learn a loved one was in crisis? Had an idea only to discover someone else launched it at the same time? These moments are dismissed as coincidence. But what if they're evidence of a shared field of consciousness? Carl Jung called it synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that suggest something deeper is connecting all minds. Indigenous traditions speak of the web of life. Theosophists call it the Akashic record. Today, we might call it the conscious cloud. A place where thoughts don't just live in brains, they ripple across people, time zones, even generations. The body as the portal, not the prison. Your physical body is precious, but it's not the whole of who you are. It's the lens, not the landscape, the window, not the world, the portal, not the prisoner. When you meditate, dream, dance, pray, or fall in love, your sense of self stretches. You feel bigger, softer, boundless. That's not fantasy. That's your real size peeking through the cracks in your skin. Your body houses you, but it does not define you. So what does this mean for you? It means the next time you feel limited by your thoughts, trapped by your past, or small in the face of the universe, you're believing a lie. The truth is, you are not just a brain in a skull. You are not just a body in space. You are awareness itself, stretching across timelines, resonating through others, woven into the cosmos. You're not here to find yourself. You're here to remember what you already are. A mind without walls, a self without end, a spark of the infinite passing through a temporary form. Part 10. So who's really in charge? Rewriting the story of the self. After everything you've learned, that your gut thinks, your heart remembers, your muscles store pain, your breath carries memory, your right brain feels truth, your biofield radiates emotion, and your mind might not even be inside your head, you're left with one final haunting question. If all of that is me, then who's in control? And more importantly, can I choose who I become? The illusion of control. You wake up each day thinking you're the same person, but by now you've seen that you is an ecosystem, a shifting network of biology, energy, trauma, memory, habit, pattern, culture, mood, time, intuition. The self is not a commander at the wheel. It's more like a conductor of a symphony, balancing countless instruments that rise and fall depending on state and situation. So what does control mean in a system this complex?
It means becoming aware of the shifting parts and learning how to influence the composition rather than forcing a single outcome. You are the watcher, not the whirlwind. Imagine your thoughts as weather, some days sunny, some stormy, some frozen in silence, some chaotic with wind and noise. But you are not the weather. You are the sky it moves through. You are the watcher, the awareness that sees, the presence behind the patterns. And that awareness is the only part of you that doesn't come and go. It's been there since your first breath. It will still be there in your last. Everything else is a costume, a mask, a role, a moment. Redefining freedom, not control, but choice. You may not control which thought appears next, which memory surfaces tomorrow, which emotion rises when triggered, but you can choose whether you believe that thought, how you respond to that memory, what you do with that emotion. That is real freedom, not in stopping the waves, but in learning how to surf them. When you realize this, you stop asking, "How do I control my mind?" and start asking, "How can I create conditions where my most authentic, loving, clear self shows up more often?" The mind as garden, not machine. Your mind is not a machine you fix. It's a garden you tend. What you feed it grows. What you ignore withers. What you fear spreads roots. What you love blossoms. Spend time in silence and awareness grows. Move your body and stored wisdom returns. Breathe slowly and clarity arrives. Speak truth and inner coherence blooms. Forgive and space opens. You don't need to force the garden to grow. You just need to stop poisoning it with lies. Lies like, "I am my thoughts. I can't change. I'm broken. I have to figure it all out. I'm alone in this." None of those are true. They are just weeds, and you are the gardener. So who's really in charge? Not the loudest thought, not the oldest trauma, not the mood of the moment, not the programming of your past. What's in charge is the part of you that can witness all of that and still choose love, still choose truth, still choose presence, still choose change. You are not one mind. You are many minds harmonized by awareness. Not a puppet of your biology, but a composer learning how to tune your inner orchestra. You are not broken. You are complex. And in that complexity lives a kind of power that no machine, no algorithm, no rule book can touch. The power to witness everything and still choose who you want to be.
The real you was never lost. You were just looking in the wrong place. You began this journey believing you were a mind inside a brain, a self locked behind a forehead, a lone thinker in a noisy world. And now you know that you are more. You are a system of minds, in your gut, in your heart, in your muscles, in your energy field. You are a consciousness that can stretch across space, across time, across memory. You are not the machine. You are the mystery behind it. You've never been broken, only fragmented. When you felt out of control, it wasn't because you were weak. It was because too many parts of you were shouting at once and no one was listening. When you ignored your gut, denied your heart, shamed your body, dismissed your intuition, you weren't failing. You were surviving with only one part of your truth. But now you see. Your wisdom was never gone, just buried beneath noise. Silence became the doorway home. You are not here to become someone else. You are not here to fix yourself. You are not a project. You are not a malfunctioning machine in need of updates. You are here to remember, to return to a kind of knowing that doesn't need proof,
to reclaim the voices inside you that were told to be quiet, to reconnect the systems within you that were never meant to be separate. Because the real you, the one who senses, intuits, feels, trusts, forgives, loves, and knows, has always been here, waiting beneath the thoughts, watching behind the eyes, whispering through every gut feeling, every goosebump, every moment of presence you couldn't explain. So what now? Now you stop searching for answers only in books or gurus or theories, and you begin listening to your gut when it warns, to your heart when it aches, to your body when it remembers, to your breath when it speaks without words, to your energy when it shifts before your brain catches up. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to honor what you already know. The real mind is not just behind your eyes. It's beneath your skin, around your body, within your silence. And when you finally trust that, you come home, not to something new, but to something ancient, something sacred, something true. You are not just thinking with your brain, you're thinking with your body, with your emotions, with your intuition, with your history, with your breath, with your soul. And the more you listen to it all, the more whole, grounded, and alive you become. The truth is, you were never broken. You were just too brilliant to fit in one mind.